so let's keep on moving and take a look at bank number 4. So let me unpatch my LFO first. And let's switch over to 0. Okay. There we are in bank 4. And bank 4, so a little bit of description on that one. The purpose for this one is for cyclical sequences. It's ideal for slow modulations, recommended for interesting pitch and filter modulations from the wave shaper output. In my specific patch here, we've been kind of listening to it primarily in the audio rate range. But one thing maybe I haven't mentioned along the way is that most of these waveforms can also be triggered in the low frequency range. I didn't really decide to go in that direction simply because of the sheer depth that I've been going into in the audio rate versions. Plus, you wouldn't be actually listening to anything if I was patching out a low frequency oscillator. You know, we'd have to get into pitch, and for the most part, it's moving up and down, but in lots of different types of shapes. So I chose to do it with audio rate just because people like audio. But that's definitely at your disposal if you choose to use it that way. Same rules apply. You know, for under ideal circumstances, you want to put a saw into your wave shaper input. But again, you can try other waveforms. From what I've read, probably square wave would probably cooperate the least going into the MegaWave. But again, you know, you're free to try anything you like. Let's see. Okay, so we're on bank 4. Let's kind of jump into that so I don't get too off track here and in the interest of time. So waveform 0 of bank 4 doesn't actually have a name. I'm going off the Miniwave manual off the Molecular Heavy Industry website. And it just kind of looks a little bit like that, like what's in our oscilloscope. So let's look at waveform 1. These don't have as interesting names as we had in some of the others. That's pretty close to what we got in the Miniwave manual. So let me move to the next one, 2. Now, in the Miniwave manual, this actually looks a little bit like sort of like a noisy sine. Let's see if I can dial that in. And I don't want to spend too much time on it, but if I can't dial that in for some reason. Okay, so I'm not going to get that one. Let's go to waveform 3. Kind of an interesting shape. Very similar to what I'm seeing in the manual as well. Still got those little sort of stepped ridges to it. Let's look at waveform 4. Looks a little bit more sort of mountainy, and that's kind of what we're seeing over there. There's kind of a big peak, and it goes down and goes up. Let's look at waveform 5. Let's see. Let's kind of adjust our input gain a little bit. See if we can get some better shape out of that. Kind of an interesting shape. Reminds me a little bit of the Batman wave that we saw a little while back. Let's go to waveform 6. And this is supposed to be sort of, it looks like a sort of stepped wave. Let's see if we can dial it in. Almost kind of squarish in the manual. Not getting that one. Let's go on to the next one. Waveform 7. Not quite the shape. That's a little bit more like the shape. Yep, pretty close. Waveform 8. Some of these I wish I could zoom in on my oscilloscope, but I know once I go there, then I'm going to be zooming over here, zooming over there. All right, let's move on. Waveform 9. Kind of an interesting timbre there. Let's move on to waveform 10. This is kind of a shallow wave, kind of like that. See if I can get the shape right. Similar to the shape. Let's go to waveform 11. And that one's pretty accurate to what I see in the manual. Let's go to waveform 12. Waveform 12. This one's a little bit hard to see. In the manual, I'm actually looking for something with a lot of peaks in it. Similar to that, but kind of more stretched out. I think that may be the best I'm going to get. So right there on waveform 12, let's look at waveform 13. It's kind of like a stepped wave. Fairly interesting timbres though, even though I'm not quite getting the shape. Let's go to waveform 14. Getting pretty close to the end of this bank. Now let's just go to 15. That actually looks pretty close. It's a little more zoomed in on my oscilloscope than it is in the manual, but you get the idea. So to wrap up this specific segment on bank 3 and bank 4, let's just modulate it a little bit. And actually, let's do something a little different. Hopefully this will work out. I'm going to actually try and take the sequencer output that I've been using for the notes. I have it multed, and let me see if I can pipe that into the wave in over here. Turn up my attenuator. I had some problems with this earlier. Attenuator all the way up. Yeah, let me just try my triangle again. Just so you can hear it kind of cyclically move through those. And again, this patch, I'm just kind of showing you that you can kind of cycle through these and get some interesting changes happening over at the oscilloscope. But description in the Miniwave manual actually describes best for cyclical sequences. Slow modulations are recommended for interesting pitch and filter modulations. So there you have it. Let's see. We covered quite a bit of ground today. We went through banks 3 and 4. Hopefully you're finding these useful. As always, I invite you to leave comments or questions or anything you'd like me to cover in future episodes on the YouTube page for this specific video. Let me unpatch that for a moment. Unpatch this. If you have questions about the general layout of the module, I should have already posted a sort of playlist with the profile video, which just kind of describes what the faceplate or all the different controls do on the MegaWave. I've been kind of focusing just on a couple changes here and there, and CV inputting here, and then adjusting the input offset and the input gain periodically, just to kind of get the shapes looking similar to what they look like in the Miniwave manual, just so you can kind of have some sort of visual reference for these waveforms, other than PDF that you then have to thumb through 256 waves in one bank. But that being said, hopefully you're getting something out of it if you're watching this series, and if you're going to continue watching this series. I know just for myself, this is kind of useful going through these. Of course, you could always do this on your own, but why not just sit back and watch someone else do it for a little while? Maybe you don't have one yet. At any rate, please join us in the next video segment for the Richter Megawave. Let's see, if you have any suggestions on maybe a different patch or a different set of notes, I do actually have some now that I think about it, programmed into my sequencer. So maybe we'll try some different notes next time around, just to kind of vary it up so we're not listening to the same little sequence over and over and over and over again. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Keep on patching out there, and so on. Thanks.